I'm going to let you take the wheel while I do the ones and twos here, okay?
Of course, guys, John's checking it out. We're getting live on Facebook, getting live on YouTube. So, letting it catch up. John will give you the real opener that you're going to be waiting for, I know. And everybody's asking, who is this awesome guest that we have on? Don't worry, guys. You're going to get to know this sweet new guest, which I am actually meeting tonight as well, and same with John. So, we're making new comic book community connections. It's going to be sick. And so we actually, guys, to kind of just warm up a little bit, I'll tell you, you can see behind me, I'm not in my zone right now. So I'm on the road for work. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's Comic Book Wednesday, my Sabbath, and I wasn't able to get to Rainbow today. But luckily, I messaged the people over at Rainbow, and you know what? I gave them a list of the comics that I wanted in my list. They gave me the big thumbs up, and so I'm set, man. I know that when I get back on Friday, I'm going to have my stack waiting for me. Thank you, Rainbow.
Yeah. All right. We are all shared out, so we're going to set sail here. Hey, everybody. It's your boy, John on Demand here from A Comic Book Look, a.k.a. Looking So Dr. Octavius this evening, inspired by the background, which you're going to learn more about.
We're going to set sail here. Hey, everybody. It's your boy, John
This is a big deal. Tom is definitely sharing me, so you hear me on Echo, the alternate reality situation there. But that is Tom Devine. There can only be one, a.k.a. my co-CEO. Good to see you. And you guys, we are joined by very special guests, and I'm going to flip the background really quick here, but we wanted to highlight the Geek Italian Rod Slap Comics logo because it's clever, it's fun. We are in great company this evening, but we're going to blow him up so we can see him properly. We got Michael Fazzini is in the building. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
What's up? Thank you guys for having me.
Yes. So before we get into the meat and potatoes, I got to call out that background. Can you give me the history on that screen? I love it.
It's all it is fatheads.
Oh, so good.
There's all kinds of different ones. I have a huge green goblin in my daughter's bedroom.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
I love it, man. It pops every time I tune in. I'm just like, there's Dr. Ock, reaching out, buy more comics, John.
Yeah.
And it just makes me happy. Awesome. Well, you guys, a quick story here about how I encountered Michael online, and this is completely random. Michael actually does a series of comic book auctions. So every Sunday or so, sometimes the day might vary, but usually Sundays, in the late afternoons, evenings, he'll do a comic book auction. And I encountered in one of our Sioux Falls groups, someone had shared it, and I said, what in the world? We're in the middle of COVID. I want to spend some money. Let's go check it out. And so I went there and I blew up the comments, and Michael's probably like, this guy is obnoxious, but it's just so fun to interact with the people. And you guys, auctions are a lot of fun. People do not play when the hot books come out to play. It is so great to watch. And so Michael has built this really cool community of people. Is it from all over the world, the country?
Yeah, I have people from United Kingdom, I ship to Australia, Canada, of course, all around the world.
Yeah, and it is such a fun program to watch. And so if you guys are curious to check him out, we will definitely be talking about links and how to find him and so forth, at the end of the show. But just such a really fun experience. And so I just got connected with him that way. I bought a couple books, and then a couple weeks later, I come back and I buy a couple more. And so it's been kind of a fun process. But Tom, you have this infamous question with our guests. So I'm going to let you do it because I don't want to steal your thunder.
Oh man, what? Yes, this is I assume I'm going to say the right one, but who knows if I'm going to say the right one. Okay. So first of all, definitely, once again, really nice to meet you. Cool to have you on. I have not checked out your comic book auction because John didn't share it with me yet. So I'm very excited.
It's because it's the best kept secret. I get the good stuff. So.
Yeah, he knows I'm going to swipe out those good books right from under him. So it is really cool to have you on, and I'm definitely going to check out your comic book auction here and what you had. I heard also maybe you do some of your own publishing or your own pressing, so I would love to hear about that as well. Yep. But before we get to where you're at with comics today, what I always like to hear is the comic book history of a person. We all have our own special histories, and so I'd love to hear yours. When did you first read comics, and how did you get into this as your interest? And we'd love to hear your story.
Sure, that's a great question, man. When I was probably 8 or 9 years old, I had a cousin that worked for a distributor, and he would always bring comic books home that was getting ready to get cut up and tore up and stuff. So I always had boxes and boxes of comic books. I mean, 8, 9-year-old kid with a bunch of comic books to read. I mean, what else you gonna do with them? You know,
That's right.
So I mean, that's what got me into comic books, was just my cousin.
Well, what an opportunity to have a distributor in the family and get comics you don't have to even pay for, man.
No, did not. It was very cool, man.
So then, was it a long-living interest, or have you waned off of comics and came back to it? How did it go after that? You're 10 years old reading comics. Tell us a little more.
Well, after 10 years old, I got into girls, so comic windows. I got back into comic books college years a little bit. I've been in and out of comic books for, I'm getting ready to turn 42 years old, so I've been in comic books for over 30 years.
Yeah, and that's how everybody is. That's why I always like to hear that history, because I do find out a lot of times that, hey, everybody, you start, going out at night and spending your money at other places and finding other ways to spend it. And so what ends up happening is you get off. But I think what's cool is the draw, the interest always brings you back. So what about comics brought you back to comics on those days?
Well, I noticed it got popular. So something that I didn't like, or something that I did like as a kid, wasn't very popular. When I was a kid, comic books were cool. Yeah. It was cool to me, but it wasn't cool to most people. You know what I mean? They kind of looked at you like you a nerd or a geek or whatnot.
Yeah.
I seen the popularity come around. I said, you know what? I'm gonna get back into them, see what was going on. And ever since then, I really haven't looked back from them. And that was probably late 20s, early 30s.
Definitely.
Well, cool, man. I mean, it's definitely great to know you. Great to hear that comic book history. I always just find it unique and cool to see the foundation of the fandom of comics. And now, so here you go. We got the full history, John. Now I say, let's start learning about what your involvement is in comic books today.
Well, I sell comic books on Facebook. I've been doing it for a little over 4.5 years now.
Okay.
And
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah. I actually quit my job and made a living out of selling comic books on Facebook.
That is so cool, man.
That is awesome.
So it was a dream come true when I knew I can actually do something like that, because comic books, I mean, they're awesome. They're an awesome escape. I like just being with them and touching them. I mean, it sounds like a woman, but comic book, it's just a great thing, man. It really is.
And I noticed that when you're running an auction, you're truly impartial to the books that you hold. But are you, if you had to say, I don't know if it's more of a Marvel or a DC, but like, what is your favorite? Do you have like a favorite title that you personally prefer?
I'm more Marvel than DC.
Yes. Boom. That's right. Me too.
Well, 51. Watch out. We have a different guest that's a good friend of the show, and he has 51% or more now, but he owns 51% of all the DC comics collected, and he's always putting John down for or making fun of him for being a Marvel fanboy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. It seems like on my sales, Marvel's more than DC anyway. So I usually just sell Marvel.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of want to learn a little bit more about the auction. So
Sure.
So 4.5 years. What was the very first auction like, and what did you learn from it?
Wow. The first, it seems so long ago, John. I can't remember, but I know it was. I've even had my wife help me out times throughout the years. My daughter has helped me out throughout the years. She's only 6, but it's been a trip, man. It's been a trip.
Yeah. And you seem to have a lot of people that you know really well. Have some of those people been with you since the first auction or close to?
Yeah, I still have my diehards. I still have my people that they might not buy off me as much as they used to, or if they still do or whatnot, but they still tune in, man. They really do. Diehards.
Yeah. What would you say? So thinking about the mechanics of selling online and all the communication that surrounds that, what is the biggest challenge with this whole process that you encounter?
What's the biggest process of selling comic books?
Yep. So what's the biggest challenge that you encounter?
People paying their bills sometimes.
I was late once. He had to remind me. I got in trouble.
Hey, and I don't care. I usually give people 48 hours bill, but if you don't pay your bill within 48 hours, I usually give you a little reminder. Hey, it's time to pay your bill. Can you please pay your bill?
Yep. No, I don't. I definitely don't want to get in trouble with you.
No, you're fine, man.
So you've had some hot items on that show.
Yeah.
I own a couple and I love them.
Yeah.
So what is the craziest, hands down craziest thing you're like, I can't believe this is in my hands, book that you've ever had?
I tell you, I've had a lot of crazy books in my hands. I've had AF-15s. I've had Detective 20. I've had all kinds of books in my thing is, the one book that I do own is the Spider-Man #1 4.0 that I won on a rack for $100.
Wow.
Great work.
It's went up in value since I was going to sell it a few years ago when it was only like $6,000 or $7,000. Now it's up to almost $20,000.
Yeah, okay. Might want to hold on to that one.
Yeah, I would. That's fantastic, man. Yeah. Well, awesome.
So I have a quick question here. So how you're getting these amazing books? Do you have people that you help sell their books, or are you acquiring these through buying big lots and then finding the good ones? I mean, how do you get all these sweet treasures that Sean's talking about?
That's usually what happened. Is most of these books are my books that I've bought off the streets, or I've hustled to get them, or but I do consignment as well.
Sure.
So, if you have comic books and you want to sell them, I take a certain percentage from it and I'll sell them for you. Mm-hmm. And that works out pretty good. I mean, people are happy with end result.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really cool because, it'd be like if I was trying to go on Facebook and just put something out, who knows who's going to see it and who knows what collectors are going to actually see it. But if you have already curated that audience, I could see that as being a big opportunity for people who are trying to, off a few books. Since I haven't been to your auction, are you doing a bunch of slabbed books? Are these raw books straight out of the?
A little bit. I do a little bit of slabs from raw. Most of my books are raw. I have, slabs.
Yeah.
I always try to pick up a nice collection of slabs. It's always a good thing to have them. People always want them. They don't care. Some people don't care. They just want to buy slabs. They don't care what the book is. They just said, I got certain clients that are, what kind of slabs you got into today? Like, I got Star Wars. I got the Amazing Spider-Man Silver Age. They're like, oh, I'm in Spider-Man. They're like, I'll buy it. I mean, just depends on the clientele, man. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool, man. And so cool that you have all those these books that you've hustled around and got yourself. I mean, that's so awesome. I bet that's fun.
It is fun, but it's so much harder. It's getting so much harder, Tom, because everybody's aware of comic books these days, and it's so hard to find books out anymore. Even to go to auction and find books for decent prices, it's hard to. So I can come back and sell them on my auction. Mm-hmm. It's getting tougher and tougher, man. Like I said, I've been doing this for almost 4.5 years. So most of my collection is dwindled way down.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But it's by the family, though, so it did purpose.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of the auction, I recently just got a little package in the mail here with the Do Not Crush on it. And I just wanted to show off my wares, if that's okay.
Yeah, John, what did you get on this sweet auction?
If anybody ever shops, we do not play with the volume of bubble wrap, and I love that. So they arrive in pristine condition, and that just makes me happy because I'm a greedy little consumer. But we got a really fun variety here, and so this will kind of give you a taste of how one of the auction shows goes. So first of all, I love DC, and when you throw up a 4-issue run of the Huntress, the old, the good stuff, I'm just like, yes, I want it. Boom. Next, when you switch it up and you go vintage, and I am, if I have a viewer that also lives in my house, this is for Christmas. But you get things like Top Dog, Heathcliff, and then Masters of the Universe, which P.S. the Netflix show, I just tuned into that, the new stuff. It's pretty fun. That's cool. But we also have some gems on the show. So when we're talking the X-Men issue 45, awesome. So, and it's in great condition. And one of the things that I love about your auction is about how transparent you are. So, Tom, and for anyone that watches this, Michael does a cool mechanic where he will hold the comic up and go from side to side and point out things in the spine. He will get the book out of the cover if it's raw, and point out things that's going on inside of the book. So if there's like initials on the back or something like that, he owns it. And there's complete transparency. So buyers, are able to get these with confidence. And so I have definitely been A-okay with dropping. I don't even remember how much this one was for because I was like X-Men. So I just been a little greedy and say it's mine. And then I outbid everybody else. It's fun. And then I treated myself to the West Coast Avengers #1. I love this
Nice,
I think it's so random and delightful. But I don't know. For me, it's a lot of fun to see these historic pieces, and Michael, that you make them accessible and presentable, and you do it in a fun, friendly format. And so I come there, one, to shop hard, but two, just to see what other people are buying. It's fun because it really is a fun community. So Tom and everybody tuning in, definitely recommend checking out the auction just because it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So
Check it out.
That sounds super fun. I mean, I'm definitely going to check it out. And you got some really good ones. That Huntress run, I'm all about the short runs like that. So that's awesome. I love how you talked about how it's getting harder and harder and harder to find those. I'm actually, even though I buy comics month to month, I don't collect that much old stuff unless I can get it for like super, super cheap. But what I do collect in my life is retro video games. Cool. And man, I'll tell you what, in the last 5 years, all retro video games are the same exact thing, where I used to be able to go to, swap meets or, different fairs and festivals and, little stuff like that, or find it at the thrift shops, and I just can't find it anymore. And it's so brutal. So, man, I definitely feel your pain on trying to find those things that you can, those gems that are not, those gems, those diamonds in the rough, but, which I used to be able to find all the time when I go out. And now it's like, if I get lucky, if I find a couple of them a year, that sucks, man. But, it's with that brings a lot of people to the community. So whatever, if it's more video game nerds and more comic book nerds, then you know what, I can live with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. So definitely, I can't recommend it enough. We will be posting a link to the auction. I think I can share like one of the previous ones, right? To lead them to your page. But it is a great time. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun and it's informative. And I gotta say the soundtrack's banging too. I pulled a couple songs you were playing in the background and added them to my playlist. So you're very multifaceted in my world. That's great. Crack open a beer and watch some comics fly. I had a quick question about while we're on the auction, the buy it now mechanic. Is this commonly practiced in other auctions, or is this something that you came up with to help jog the show?
A lot of people do buy these days. People, if you watch auctions, some of the big comic book groups, not comic book groups, but comic book stores, most of theirs are buy it nows or best offer they'll put up there because they're still trying to get as much money as they can. But they don't realize if you do an auction and you get somebody going against each other, they're battling against each other. That's the thing, is when you see two or three or five people going at one comic book at the same time, it gets intense. Yep.
I've had a few runs for my money, but not nearly as high as you're talking, I'm sure. But it's fun to just be like, no, this book's mine. Cyclops is. I think the last time I said Cyclops is looking mighty angry and he needs a good home. So yeah. So yeah, so if we think of other questions about the auction, I will definitely, bring them up. But the next thing that I learned was during your last auction that I attended was about this comic pressing business that you have on the side, which I had no idea that you did, and I was just like, I didn't know that was really a thing. So,
so you're not a press; you press them so that it would straighten it out, and you get a better score when you slap them.
Correct.
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's a.
So I want to learn more about that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've been doing pressing and cleaning for about 3.5 years, maybe 4 years, something like that. I had a good friend of mine teach me the basic fundamentals of it. Now they got books out and stuff. You can buy a book on eBay, or not even eBay, on the internet, and it'll tell you how to press and clean anymore. But it doesn't, it's a lot easier. It's easier said than done. A lot of people think that they could just read the book and then become a professional presser, but it doesn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
It takes practice. It really does.
So was your first book, were you like doing like a super test comic, like I don't care how this goes situation?
Oh, yeah. I have boxes of comic books that are just, something's wrong with them. They got water stains. I've got tons of books that are just messed up before I got into doing it.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the process and like what it looks like, how long a book would take from start to finish?
Yeah. I can't get into great detail about it, because it's secrets.
Yep, you're good.
But it's an easy process from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. Depending on the book. If it's a modern book, modern books are pretty easy. They're pretty self-explanatory. All you have to do is press them, put them in the heat press, then put them in the cold press for 24 hours, and they're good to go. Now, if you have older books, you have to actually clean their bitch, man. They really are. Some of them take. I've had to clean a book up 6 hours for one book.
Okay, gotcha.
But
that's intense. Okay, so 6 hours for one book. Are there books that you would turn away where you're like, nah?
Yes. If a book's not pressable, like I say, a lot of people, you can't tell by pictures. A lot of people will send me pictures and say, hey, does this look that you can press it? And I say, I really can't tell from the pictures. If you send the book to me, I can let you know. And a lot of people don't want to do that because they don't want to do shipping to me, shipping back from me if it's not working. But that's the best way is in person, in hand, to let you know if it's pressable. But yeah, I've turned away many people for pressings because they didn't need pressed. I won't press a book unless it needs pressed.
Yep.
Gotcha. Oh, so not like it's too bad. It's not. It's too in too terrible shape. You're saying, hey man, it's already flat. It's already. Is that what you're saying?
There's that case too, but I'm saying if it's not in good shape.
Oh, gotcha.
You can't do it either. But I've had books where people have given to me and there's nothing wrong with it. There's no. I mean, some of them, for instance, if a book has. Here's Jimmy Olsen. Okay, there's a couple spine ticks on this book right here. I can't fix spine ticks. Now, if the spine tick was not breaking collar, we can fix it. We can make it flat. Yeah. But you can't take back once the collar's broke.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. And then, so I mean, the quest is when you get a book that's already good, is like they're just nervous. They're not going to get a 9.8. They're going to submit their book or they're not going to get a 9.9 or a 9.8. Have you ever came across the 10? I've heard they've given them out before, but I've never seen one in my life.
I've got a lot of 9.8s in my day, but I've never got a 9.9 or a 10.0.
Yeah.
Seen one in person besides eBay.
Yeah, same with me. I guess I've seen them online or whatever, but I've never been in, and I've tried to travel to shops and look at every book I can. I've also been lucky enough to hold, Amazing Fantasy 14 or 15, whichever one it is, I can't remember, and the first Batman and Detective Comics, and I've got to hold those as well and see them slabbed at like 3.6 and low 4s, which to me was still one of the coolest things that I've ever got to be a part of that thing, holding that much, value in my hands. But I do know when I, through the Facebook groups and the different comic book groups that I know, and from some of our past guests like Derek, Derek from SuperCon, John, he's like super into getting his comics pressed, trying to get them sent out, and getting that that unicorn of a 9.9 or a 10. So, but still hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, that's cool. So these two things keep you busy. In addition to these two facets, are you involved with comics in any other way? I imagine that going out and procuring collections takes a bit of time out of your calendar.
I also work in a Montessori school.
Okay.
So.
Yes, that's awesome.
There you go. There you go.
Getting those kids to start reading comics, so they can be your future customers. I love it. Also, I'd love to say on your comic pressing, I guess first I'll ask, do you still buy new comics when they come out on Wednesday ever? Do you ever try to speculate in that kind of the manner? Do you have certain shops that you're around that you try to hit up on those? Or are you always looking at the back issues and buying the aftermarket?
I used to buy comic books every Wednesday, and I stopped probably in 2012. It was one of those moments where, I just got sick of having so many comic books that I wasn't flipping them. I was just buying them and reading them.
Yeah.
Then I found out that they have apps that you can sit there, like Marvel Universe, you can sit there and read any comic book that you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I like the feel of a comic book in my hand. I really do. Like when I'm pressing books or going over a collection, it's just fun. It's just blast.
No.
Yeah, I agree. I've recently, as John knows, taken my collection and then I've been cataloging it. And so I have tons of books, and I've never done it before, and I've never really taken the time. My comic book collection is kind of like in chronological order that I bought it in, and I'm really bad at organizing it. So it's been really, really fun to take them and go through all these ones that I haven't seen forever, these old collections that I read a long time ago, or these big lots that I bought off eBay and read, and and then put them into this organization. And I would say for my entire comics life, I really haven't cared about my comic books. So I all my comic books get ruined all of the time. I'm a collector's dream because I'm bringing their values up, because all my comics are read 3 times. I got greasy fingers when I'm reading them, and the goal for me is on the inside. And so that's how I've been my entire life. But now when I'm going through my collection and it's telling me, what do you think this book is graded? And I'm like, well, I can see the chicken grease on the cover of this comic. I'm going to go with a low grade. We're going to put it into my thing. And maybe I think that might be biting me in the ass a little bit now that I'm so deep into comic collecting and going through decades of collecting and seeing my mistakes. But it doesn't hurt me, because I still got gold when I read them.
This is kind of a fun one too. So, Michael, on your last auction, you did have something that had someone's initials on it. What is the most ridiculous, shouldn't have been their thing on a comic that you've seen, or something that was cut out or whatever that you've encountered?
I've seen all kinds of crazy things. You've seen people drawing penises and stuff on their. You see everything, man. People's crazy.
Yep. You're just like, that's a shame.
It is.
Yeah.
And especially if it was a good comic book and it's worth money. It's like, back then they didn't know what they were doing. They were just being silly. But
yeah. Early retirement out the window.
With respect, man.
Yep. Well, that's awesome. Well, with that, that is all the questions I had for you this evening, Mr. Michael. But no, we appreciate you taking time just to visit with us so we can learn more about that. And I personally, again, love attending your auctions. And so we will get a link out just so people can check you out. I encountered you through a random Sioux Falls group here. So somebody in my vicinity caught you and brought me to you. So that's awesome. It's a small world, man. Well, cool. Well, Tom, do you have any other questions?
I got nothing, man. It's really cool to meet you, and really cool to see part of this. The comic book industry is collecting, and so now we talk about new comics all the time. So I love that John was able to get you on here talking about this whole facet of comic books, the comic book auctions, comic book collecting, trying to find those keys, and trying to find what the next key is going to be and getting it beforehand.
Yeah. It's the fun journey, man.
Yeah. But no, well, thank you again. And Again, your auction just as a product, when I come, it is truly just fun to watch. It's that good balance, and I don't know, you're juggling like 30 personalities at a time, and you do a very fine job at it. So,
Thank you.
so my hat is figuratively off to you, and I just respect the heck out of you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Before we shut it down, though, where can people find you?
Where can people find me? On Facebook.
On Facebook. Gotcha. And we will get a link. We will get a link in the comments there.
Just request me. I do everything on my personal page.
Okay. So Michael Fazzini, you guys, we will get a link out there. Get familiar, though. Highly recommend getting connected with him. He is amazing. And Sundays, you will not be disappointed. But we will go ahead and shut it down because all three of us we are on a school night here, and we're going to get some R&R tonight. So thank you again so much for your time tonight, Michael. Yeah, we are Comic Book Look, you guys, proudly sponsored by Rainbow Comics. I am John on Demand, and we got Tom Stu Divine over here, and we will see you guys next week for sure. Hope you guys have an excellent week in comics, and keep it comics for sure, man.